We're live.
The chair notes the time is 6:02 p.m. and I am calling the meeting of the Amherst Zoning Board of Appeals to order. My name is Everett Henry, Chair of the Amherst Zoning Board of Appeals. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting. We will begin with the roll call of the ZBA members. Mrs. Sloviter,
Present.
Mr. Meadows,
Present.
Mr. White,
Present.
Mr. Offeld.
Present.
The chair notes that the quorum is present. Also present tonight is Ms. Jacinta Williams, planner for the town of Amherst. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and extended through June 30th, 2027, the ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote or hybrid manner, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access this meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a quasi-judicial body that operates under the authority of Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Amherst. One of the most important elements of the Amherst zoning bylaw is Section 10.38. Specific findings from this section must be made for all of our decisions. Statutorily, for a special permit, the board has 90 days from the close of the hearing to file a decision. No decision is final until the written decision is signed by the sitting board members and is filed in the town clerk's office. Once that decision is filed with the town clerk, there is a 20-day appeal period from the aggrieved party to contest that decision with a relevant judicial body in the Superior Court. After the appeal period, the permit must be recorded at the Registry of Deeds to take effect. In tonight's agenda, we will review and approve the minutes from October 23rd, 2025. We have public hearings on the ZBA FY 2026-06, 24 North Pleasant Street, or McMurphy's Inc. Request a special permit under sections 3.52.3, which is a food and drink establishment over 200, 5.041 outdoor dining, and 5.042 live or pre-recorded entertainment to operate a tavern at their new location. The said property is located on map parcel 14A-337, General Business Zoning District. The other public hearing will be ZBA FY 2026-03, 65 High Street. Request a special permit under section 3.3241, converted dwelling, to convert an open porch to a bedroom in one of the dwelling units. Additionally, the applicant requests modifications under section 7.90 to have more than 50% of the parking spaces be compact parking spaces allowed by section 7.104 for property located on map parcel 14B/90, general residence zoning districts. This meeting has been continued from September 11, 2025 and October 23rd, 2025. We'll also have the general discussion, a general public comment period, any other business not anticipated within the last 48 hours, and if there are no other agenda items, we will adjourn. So let's get started. The first order of business tonight is approval of minutes from October 23rd, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes for the meeting? I see heads nodding. Are there any corrections to be made or any updates to be made? No comments. Are there any comments or revisions to the minutes? Okay. In that event, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for October 23rd, 2025 as submitted. Is there a second?
So moved and
I'm sorry.
seconded, whichever
It's been moved in second. Yeah.
whoever was first there, I
Yeah.
didn't hear it.
It has been moved in second. This vote requires a roll call vote. Mrs. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
Okay.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The motion to approve the minutes from October 23rd, 2025 has been passed by unanimous consent. Our second agenda item is ZBA FY 2026-06, 24 North Pleasant Street, McMurphy's Inc. Before we open the public hearing, does anyone on the panel have anything to declare or disclose? I see no affirmative responses. I will therefore open the public hearing and begin by reading into the record the applicant's submissions for consideration for tonight's petition. There is a long list, I believe, that I went through.
I'm here.
So that's okay. Mr. Stahl, we will get to you in a few moments. I'm just
Oh,
going
okay.
through.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So there are some numbered items 7352 and 7353 with which are images of a white lion sign dated November 6, 2025. 7354, it's an image of McMurphy's Uptown Tavern sign dated 11/06/2025. There, of course, is the crowd control certification. There are 5. There is McMurphy's site plan. The crowd certifications, I believe, were uploaded on 12/8, the site plan on 11/6. And of course, we have the application dated 11/06/2025. Ms. Williams, did I miss anything?
Did you read in the site plan?
I did, yes, I mentioned the site plan.
Okay, and I think you've gotten everything.
Thank you. There was a site visit that took place, and we had Mr. White, myself, and Ms. Williams was also there, and of course we had Mr. Casey. There were, and Mr. White can chime in, but the site plan was relatively straight. The site visit rather was relatively straightforward. Nothing was being done to the existing structure that was there. It is literally, my understanding is that McMurphy's, their building is about to be converted to, I believe, residences, and so they're moving across the street. There is a very large industrial kitchen, but the understanding is that that kitchen will not be used. McMurphy's is maintaining status as a tavern with no food. And the structure that is there, other than, personalizing it with McMurphy's memorabilia and things like that, there is no construction that's going to be done inside or outside. There is nothing proposed to change within the existing structure. Mr. White, did I miss anything?
No, Mr. Chair, I think that was a pretty comprehensive summary. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. So with that, I'd like to invite the applicant or the applicant's representatives to present their petition to the board at this time. And I do see Mr. Brian Stahl from McMurphy's. So Mr. Stahl, can you just introduce yourself and provide your address for the record and tell us what you're asking of the ZBA?
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Stahl. My address is actually 10 Atherton Lane, Belchertown, Massachusetts, 01007. That's where I reside. So exactly what the chair just said, we are the building at 37 North Pleasant Street, which Barry Roberts owned, is planned to be demolished and come down. Yeah, I believe they're building apartments. It's still going to be a 2-story building, apartments above and commercial space on the bottom. And we are just looking to move, literally pick up and move across the street. Just like the chair said, there is a large kitchen there. We are not applying for a restaurant license. We are not going to be cooking food or using it. We'll be staying as a tavern with snacks and basically doing the same thing at McMurphy's that we've been doing for 28 years at the new location.
Thank you, Mr. Stahl. We'll now open the floor to questions from the board members to the applicant. Does anyone have any questions? I do not see any responses. So I do have one, Mr. Stahl. So it is a very large kitchen. And I believe one of the things is there no, I mean, you will have it available to you. But again, right now, I understand there is no plans to do anything different. But is there any contemplation that maybe in the future you actually turn this into a restaurant? How are you going to maintain said space?
Maintaining said space, it's really clean right now. We plan to keep it clean, and all the equipment that's there, and if it's in working operation, to just maintain. We won't be using it, but we won't be letting like things build up on it or anything. That's actually in our lease, is to maintain whatever equipment is in there the same level it is now. In the future, I really don't know. It's a big move for us. It's something new. I think we'll get a better grasp of how not just our business is, but also how Amherst is, over the next year or so. Amherst is always very interesting when it comes to business.
The other question is, you're now moving to having an outdoor patio because it does exist. And
Correct.
what is the plan to manage drinking on the patio? I mean, this is a Friday night college town.
Right. Yes, trust me, I've thought about that many a times. The plan right this minute is there's a good chance the patio will only be used on some of the slower nights. Once again, it's one of those, as we're moving across the street. Obviously, the patio won't be used at all in the wintertime. It'll as we go, we'll get a feel for it and see how we can manage it. No matter what, we'd have staff out there the entire time. Any customers would be out there, of course. It wouldn't be a I don't even know what the words for it. I guess you call it like an unmanned area. There would always be unstaffed. That would be a better way of putting it. Unstaffed area. There would always be staff out there if we were having customers out there.
And by staff, you mean staff other than wait staff?
The same floor. All we have is floor staff and bartenders.
Wouldn't there be someone out there like for crowd control?
Correct. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay, so your wait staff and your crowd control essentially are one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't. I guess when you think of restaurant terms, you call it wait staff. I call it door staff. Door and floor. Floor staff.
Okay.
But yes, it's moving forward. It's definitely like when we did the walkthrough, where the customer's coming in, it's kind of in the same area. So it's one of those that you couldn't have it with just, an unstaffed area. It would have to be staffed.
Okay, thank you. The chair recognizes Mr. Offeld and then Mr. Sloviter.
Just had a few questions. I'm looking at the floor plan.
Sure.
How does is there any communication that is, could a customer move between the Drake and your establishment? I see some stairs in the back.
There's no, those stairs in the back are emergency exits.
Okay. Another question. I can see where DP Dough is on the site plan. I'm looking at it on my screen here, and to the left of that, or I guess to the south, there's a whole bunch of little rooms back there, and I guess they're unrelated to your your facility.
When it switched over from oh my goodness, High Horse. Sorry. Yeah. When it switched over from High Horse to White Lion, they put up walls.
Okay.
So the stuff that you're seeing, I'm assuming the rooms to the left, I guess, the left you would say, those are all DP Dough. I don't know what he has in there, storage, cooking.
Okay. And one last one is there any thought to lock or otherwise prevent patrons from entering the kitchen area?
They can't enter it.
They cannot enter it. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I have one more. What does tip certified mean for bartenders? This is just my curiosity.
Oh, so tip certified is alcohol training.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the companies just actually call it alcohol training, and then some companies call I can't even think of the company, ServSafe, which originally was one of the only companies that did it. They just named it tips. I forget what it stands for, but it's
Okay.
just alcohol awareness training.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Mr. Sloviter?
I was not able to attend the site visit, so I didn't go through the building with you. But
Mhm.
the only difference that I see from your current operation to your proposed new location is the outdoor seating area. Otherwise,
Mhm.
nothing seems to be different. So,
Correct.
so the chair brought up the outdoor seating area, which I was going to mention also. Is there any consideration of simply not using it? As I look at the diagram, it
Mhm.
doesn't appear to me that it would be difficult to isolate that space,
Yep.
maintain it so that obviously it doesn't collect trash that gets blown in by the wind. But it looks like it would be easy to uh, restrict access to the outdoor, what is labeled here outdoor dining, and it would not interfere with the entrance to the new location. So is there any consideration to simply keep that off limits, in which case there really is no change to your operation?
Uh oh, do you mean like so are you saying like literally shut it off and never be allowed to use it? Is that what you mean? I just
I'm
want to be
asking,
clear.
I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying,
Right.
the addition, when I first looked at this application, it
Mhm.
appeared, oh, yeah, oh, Jacinta
Right
just,
there.
they
Mhm.
either there or straight across there. Yeah, either way. When I first looked at this application, I thought, wow, this is about as easy an application as has come before us. The operation is identical. You're
Yep.
not expanding, you're not changing the nature, you're not adding a restaurant function to it. You're simply
Nope.
moving from a building that won't be there for very long to a building that's likely to be there longer.
Correct.
So you're just
Yes.
relocating. It's the outdoor space that potentially changes some aspect of your function, because if
Correct.
people can sit out there in spring weather
Right.
and have all of those tables there filled with people, that changes the effect of your
Sure.
operation on
Mhm.
Pleasant Street.
Correct.
If that's off limits and it's simply there because it's already there, but you don't use it, then the sound and potential public nuisance that a bunch of people sitting out there drinking would be avoided. And I'm just wondering, are you is is it a consideration to simply not even use the outdoor space? In which case, there really is no change in your operation.
Sure. So where Jacinta just made it kind of blue, the blue line.
Yeah,
So if you see those four tables to the left,
yeah,
not, there's like a round one and three squares.
yeah.
There you go, right there. Thank you. So those ones are actually broken and being removed.
Okay,
There won't be anyone actually there.
okay,
That will more than likely, if you see the swinging gate, that's yeah, right, kind of right where the cursor is, or where it was. There's like a gate. Yep, there you go. That will more than likely be the actual entrance. When we did the walkthrough, they'd be entering there and coming into the building. That leaves us with the exit coming out along the building and up the ramp that you see kind of in the middle.
Right.
So it keeps a nice flow because you know for entrance and exit you want to have a nice flow. So that part on the left there with those kind of 4 tables, those tables are actually already destroyed. They weren't upkept. They're all gone. Well, will be gone once we're done fixing things. And the only part of the patio that actually would be used is the tables that are covered under the awning.
Right.
And while I do say, you know, it's the only thing that would change, we would like to still have that option. If you've ever been uptown when it was a nice place in the summertime, on the slower nights, and people can just sit out there, relax, and have a beer, which obviously it's been like that for, I mean, I don't even know, when the ABC opened, well over 20 years. It is a nice option to have.
Well, it is a nice option to have, and I will plead guilty to having sat at those tables and had dinner. But it is not, I'm not trying to depict anything here or
Oh, no, that's okay. It's okay.
It is different. It is different to have tables with people of many ages, including old people like me and Mr. Meadows, sitting there having a beer and dinner, is different than that space being filled with UMass students on a lovely Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night before they go screaming down Lincoln Avenue to get back to where they live. So it's a different thing, and I'm raising the question here because when this application, while this application appears to have really no change at all, this outdoor patio filled with 21-year-olds who, with no food, by the way, you've already said there's no food. So if this thing is filled with a bunch of 21-year-olds drinking, and fine, bar snacks, fine. But when I sat there having dinner with me and a bunch of old and young people, it wasn't loud. It wasn't intrusive. It didn't have any kind of a negative effect on Pleasant Street. So my only concern is this outdoor space, which is a change in your operation.
Yeah. So just to let you know where we're coming from, that space will not be packed with students. If you see there's, I want to say 4 tables of 4 and 3 tables of 2. That's how many people will be sitting out there.
Okay.
And if people are being loud, rude, obnoxious, they'll be asked to leave immediately. We take it very seriously. We've been in business for 28 years. We've worked fantastic with the town in different times where there's been different issues in the town, and they've asked, what can we do to help? What can we do to help mitigate some of the daytime stuff? We worked with them with that. We take it very seriously. We are not, some of the people who have come from out of town recently over the past, 8-9 years and have opened up and really haven't listened to the town and don't really care about the town. We take a lot of pride in that. And if the patio, I call it the patio, call it the outdoor seating, at any time becomes too much of a problem and we see it as a problem, then just like you said, we'll shut it down if we have to. We would like to have the opportunity to use it, and hopefully in a calm manner where people can sit, enjoy themselves, talk, and enjoy a nice outdoor patio on a nice day.
Fine. I'm not I'm not suggesting that that can't happen. This is a change and a potential issue. And if you have a proven track record in the town, and I'm not inferring in any way that you don't take it seriously or that you're new to the town and don't understand it. I just want to make sure that this does not become an issue. If it
Absolutely.
was closed off, it couldn't become an issue.
Right. Yeah.
If it's open, it could, and you need to be prepared to deal with it.
Absolutely. You and I are on the same page.
Okay. Thank you.
We're on when we did the walkthrough, we talked about this as well.
Okay.
And I explained the same thing of we're not just throwing 50 college kids out there to be doing whatever they want to. That would cause a problem. It would cause a problem with the town, which would then bring it to us. And that's the last thing we ever want.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slover. The chair recognizes Mr. Meadows.
I must say that I think this is a non-issue. It's been like this ever since the ABC opened. I've never heard of any problems there. Maybe there's a danger of a car coming off of North Pleasant Street and going through there, but I don't think there's a problem with anything else. It's just a non-issue, David. And I
Okay.
must say that ever since since Dave Stedman and the Knights of Columbus owned your building prior to you guys,
They did. Yeah.
I don't ever remember any problems there. And myself and the others at the Yellow Sun, when we had the dining car, there were never any problems. And that was 50 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. If there are no additional questions from members of the board at this time, I will take comments from any members of the public. If Ms. Williams, is there anyone in the public for any comments?
No.
I'm sorry, you said no?
That's correct. There are no members of the
Okay.
public wishing to comment.
Given that there are no members from the public who wishes to comment, unless there's any further questions or any comments from the applicant, I would entertain a motion to move to the public meeting while keeping the public hearing open so that we can discuss the conditions and the findings we have to make and have any discussions on the disposition of the board towards this application. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? There is no discussion. The vote occurs on the motion to move into a public meeting while keeping the public hearing open. Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld, Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. We will now move into the public meeting while keeping the public hearing open for ZBA FY 2026-06, 24 North Pleasant Street in McMurphy's. So if I may go first, I am inclined to support this. Actually, I will support this, but I did think about what Mr. Meadows was saying. I happen to have dual roles here because I see things in, with the police and the courts on a Monday morning, what happened over the weekend. And primarily when it comes to drunk and disorderly, it usually happens on North Pleasant Street. Not necessarily from people who goes to McMurphy's, but there is a Spoke down the way, and that is the strip that people go to. So, and now that Vera Cruzana has moved to 104 North Pleasant Street with outdoor patio seat-ins, there is more now, expectation that there's going to be lively and more rowdy crowd. And the goal here is not to hinder or prevent you from striving as business, is to find a balancing act. And I like what you said about you gave us specifically as to the number of tables and how many seats out there. So I am inclined to support this with the condition that we ask that there's no standing out there. If the tables cannot accommodate people, then that's the capacity. It's seated capacity only. Yeah. So I will support it with that condition. And that is my comment. And I will have the other board members weigh in. Mr. Offeld?
If we're going ahead to talk about the conditions, I had two questions. And maybe this one may just be my lack of knowledge about this, but condition 14, the proposed condition 14, deliveries to the site shall be made between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. And I don't know if that is an onerous requirement to Mr. Stahl, or is that business routine? I'd like to hear about that.
I think it may be a downtown thing.
I
I
have
was
no
gonna
idea.
say that might be a relic from the previous
Yeah.
conditions. That's not necessarily applicable, so we can strike that if necessary.
Okay.
I think it's just
Okay.
a typo.
Okay, and then the very last one, 17, this permit shall expire on change of ownership or management. And I guess I didn't quite understand what change in management might mean, because there is the potential to have different managers with the same owner. So it's not entirely clear what triggers a need for, or what triggers an expiration of the special permit.
Perhaps we say rather than management, we do a management plan.
Right. I mean, you'd have to revise
I
the
know.
management plan. Where was that?
I think it's more like change in ownership.
Yeah, could we
Yeah,
strike
I don't
the
know.
or management? In number 17, could we strike the part or management?
I did.
I don't think you're seeing it, Mr. Offeld, but
Oh,
Ms.
you did.
Williams
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking at the old one here. Great. Okay. All right. Those were my two comments. Thanks.
Are there any other input from members of the board? Mrs. Sloviter?
You want inputs or comments? I don't have I concur with what the chair said, and I have no problem supporting this. That was it.
Okay, I will take either input or comments.
No,
This is the
Just
okay. Thank you, Mrs. Sloviter. So, given that there are no further comments from the panel, next we have to make findings. There are specific findings we have to make under section 10.38, and we will go through those one by one. With the permission of the board, I would like to skip those that are not applicable to this permit. So let me get to I should also point out before we go into the findings, as I was reviewing this, Ms. Williams, there was a note from the health inspector. Was that resolved?
You'd have to check with the applicant on that.
Yes, I spoke with Susan. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Stahl.
So I can update that.
Bear with me. Okay, so we should start with section 3.33, the use classification and standards. Section 3.352-1, food and drink establishments, bar with no food served. We are
Sorry,
here.
my screen is very small, so I'm trying
That's okay.
to zoom around. Okay.
Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Specific findings. We can skip those, Ms. Williams, and go to specific findings. 10.38 and 3.1. So 10.38 and 3.1, the proposal is suitably located in the neighborhood in which it is proposed and or the total town as deemed appropriate by the special permit granting authority. The proposal is compatible with existing uses and other uses permitted by the right in the same district. McMurphy's Tavern, I'd like to make a finding that McMurphy's Tavern is staying in the downtown Amherst. It is relocating to the space across the street, formerly occupied by the White Lion Brewing Company. It is most suitably located in the neighborhood and compatible with existing and other uses permitted by right in the same zoning district at this time. 10.382, 83, and 385, and 387. The proposal would not constitute a nuisance due to air and water pollution, flood, noise, odor, dust, vibration, lights, or visually offensive structures or site features. The proposal would not be a substantial inconvenience or hazard to abutters, vehicles, or pedestrians. The proposal reasonably protects the adjoining premises against detrimental or offensive uses on the site, including air and water pollution, flood, noise, odor, dust, vibration, lights, or visually offensive structures or site features. The proposal provides convenient and safe vehicular pedestrian movement within the site and in relation to adjacent streets, property, or improvements. I'd like to make a finding that the proposal does not constitute a nuisance and is not a hazard to abutters. The applicant has made the following provisions for sound in their sound management plan. The sound management plan stated that the average tavern produces 75 decibels of sound, while the average nightclub can produce 100 decibels of sound. To give an example, a backfired exhaust is 140 decibels, a car horn 110, a screaming baby 80, a normal conservation 60, and a whisper 30. The standard thickness for soundproof walls is 5 to 7 inches, depending on the material. Our building is composed of 6 to 10 inches brick and cement, and along with what we also have sound dampening boards installed throughout the building to help absorb the sound. Given that we are talking about sound, I'd like to just, while I find that the applicant has made provisions for sound, we just put on the record that we've discussed the patio as potentially a noise issue. There is no on-premises parking for customers or employees. All parking is in town lots or spaces. 10.384, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. I'll make a finding that adequate and appropriate facilities are available for the proper operation of the proposed use. 10.386, the proposal ensures that it is in conformance with the parking sign and regulations, which is Articles 7 and 8 respectively of this bylaw. I'd like to make a finding that does not apply, and I'll skip those. In terms of parking, 10.387, there is no on-premises parking for customers or employees. All parking is in town lots or spaces. 10.38, the proposal ensures adequate space for the off-street loading and unloading of vehicles, goods, products, materials, and equipment incidental to the normal operation. Off-street loading and unloading of vehicles, goods, products, etc. will continue in the same manner as it takes place for all businesses in downtown Amherst. In terms of trash and recycling, 10.389, all trash and recycling will be picked up by USA Waste. The trash will be placed in bins behind the building in the designated trash area for the building. Pickup days are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I will skip to 10.393. The proposal provides protection of adjacent properties by minimizing the intrusion of lighting, including parking lots and exterior lighting through use of cut-off luminaries, light shields, lowered height of light poles, screening, or similar solutions. I propose to make a finding that there will be one set of outdoor string lights on the patio and one halogen light illuminating the front sign of the building. Both lights are pre-existing and there will be no new lights added. .396, the proposal provides screening for storage areas, loading docks, dumpsters, rooftop equipment, utility buildings, and similar features. Trash and recycling receptacles are located in the back of the building and are not visible from the public right-of-way. 10.398, the proposal is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this bylaw and the goals of the master plan. I propose we make a finding that the proposal is in keeping with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw and advances the goals of the town's master plan by way of infill development. So I have gone through the findings. I would now entertain a motion. Unless there is any discussion on the findings, I will entertain a motion that we approve the findings for 24 North Pleasant Street. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a comment first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see your hand.
Sorry.
Mr. Otto?
This would be back on 10.382, the sound. And Miss Williams had typed something and it went by so fast. I wanted to make sure that it was. Yeah, could we add, so I'm looking at the ZBA hearing finding. So the applicant has made provisions for sound for the indoor activities. The patio was discussed and could we say that and I think it's true that the applicant has assured us that steps will be taken to manage sound in the patio area. Something like that.
I have no objection to that. Do any of the members of the board have any objections or any language want to add? I can't see hands, see Ms. Williams' screen. So if anyone has their hand up, openly speak. If not, I will take the silence as no additional comments to add. Thank you, Mr. Offeld.
Yep. Great. Okay.
Okay. So, seeing that there are no further discussions regarding the findings, I would entertain a motion that we approve the findings. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? There are no discussions. The vote occurs on the motion. Mr. Sloviter?
Aye.
Mr. Offeld?
Aye.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Meadows? Craig, you're on mute.
Aye.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Meadows. And the chair votes aye. The findings have been adopted unanimously. I'd like to review the proposed conditions as drafted in the project application report. So far, I know we've had small discussions on the conditions, but now is the opportunity for us to dive deeper. And if anyone has any proposed conditions other than what's there, this is where we can discuss them openly. So that condition number one, I didn't understand condition number one. I understand the need for the crowd control certifications to be fixed there, but the project shall be built, maintained, and managed according to the approved plans and application package. Okay. I think the listing was throwing me off, but now I'm following. Okay. So essentially, McMurphy's needs to operate as approved by this special permit. Is that the heart of number one, Ms. Williams?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And any changes shall be reviewed by the building commissioner to determine if the changes are significant enough to require a formal modification of the permit and or condition, and if deemed significant, submission to the ZBA as necessary. Okay. And we talked about this. The approved use is a bar with no food served. Is that everyone's understanding?
Yes.
Okay. With a capacity of not more than 200 patrons, and the operation shall be as described in the management plan and Murphy's management plan addendum. There shall be at least one certified crowd control manager. Crowd control, there's a typo on number 3, says crown versus crowd. Controls manager on duty at all times. And given that we're talking about crowd control, I'd like to add under number 3 that use of the patio is limited to seating only. All bartenders shall be tip certified. The use of advanced ID system or other approved electronic ID verification equipment shall be in use at all times. All alcoholic beverages must be consumed on the premises. The minimum food requirement must be met as required by the Board of Licensee. Do we need that given that there is no food?
Yes, we do, just to make sure that it's written into the special permit that they're in compliance.
Okay. Outdoor music shall not impede normal conversation of people on the patio and in no case exceed 70 dB at the property line. There shall be an on-site manager at all times, and the manager's name shall be on file in this office. By this office, you mean the planning department's office?
Sure, yes.
Okay. The general max capacity shall not exceed 205, which includes the outdoor seating area, or the allowable maximum capacity as determined by the Amherst Inspection Services Department. The hours of operation, are those standard hours? Is there a request for non-standard hours?
Those are their standard hours, so we're just putting that into the special permit as well.
Okay.
That's correct, right, Mr. Stahl?
Our permit license is 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Is that what you see?
Yes.
Okay.
And all alcohol service shall end at 12:45 a.m. There shall be no products or byproducts of a tavern stored outside the establishment except for trash and recycling as shown on the approved site plan and McMurphy site plan prepared by Kuhn Riddle Architects. And furniture and furnishings that are not permanently affixed related to outdoor dining shall not be stored outside the establishment during winter months if not being used regularly. There shall be no disposable glasses, china, or silverware used on the patio. Reusable tableware shall be used for outdoor table service. All areas to be cleaned daily and left in a clean condition by the end of normal business hours by staff. Deliveries to the site shall be made between 7 and 11 a.m. Is that standard?
I think we're taking that out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Garbage and trash shall be disposed of as described in the management plan and McMurphy's management plan dated November 4, 2025. Ms. Williams, garbage and trash as, I think you can take out the as. Any change in signage or lighting shall be reviewed by the Design Review Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to installation. And this permit shall expire on the change of ownership of McMurphy's. I think we agreed on that, discussed that change. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are there any additional conditions anyone wish to propose or amend the existing conditions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. White?
Mr. Stahl, I wanted to touch base on something and just kind of get a little clarity. When we were referring to the tip certification for the bartenders, and I'm looking at condition number 4, is that linked? Is that like a proprietary training for just one company? Because I know we talked about ServSafe and other, different companies. Is that just kind of what one company calls their certification?
It's a good question. ServSafe calls it tips, and I think well, yeah,
Well,
because
I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. My concern is
you mean because it should say alcohol awareness.
yeah. So my concern
Yeah,
is
I
if
got you.
that certification is in any way proprietary to one company, and at
You know
some
what?
point,
Right, I got you. So you know what? Everyone in the industry has always called it that. So it's probably written into every single thing. I see what you're saying. Because in our insurance, when we file for the insurance, it says that bartenders must take an alcohol awareness class.
yeah. So
So
that's my
this,
concern. I wouldn't want you to have to come back before the ZBA if you were
Right,
just switching to an analogous and also of the
I
same
got you.
quality alcohol certification for your bartenders. I don't think that's a good use of
Right.
your time or ours. So I
I
would
appreciate that.
ask
Yeah.
for that we change number 4 in some way to reflect that, something that's analogous to the tip certification,
Yeah.
or if we want to change the wording to alcohol certification training program or whatever it is, I think that might be a better use for that condition. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're very welcome, Mr. White. Can we take out the word shall and put must? And I'm comfortable if we put if it's industry standard where tip is the common language, I'm comfortable putting tip in parentheses at the end of that. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are there any other discussions on the conditions?
Did we want to certify a number or not certify, specify a number for the seating area? Mr. Stahl, is there like a max seating capacity for the dining area?
I think there is already one on there
Okay.
on the
So-
plan.
So that is the intent, is that only, so
Seating only.
I believe you said some tables can accommodate 4 or 2. So if, once the tables are full being seated, then you're at capacity on the patio.
Yeah, I got you.
You're okay with the wording?
Seating only. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were asking me. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's okay.
Are there any more comments and or discussion on the conditions? Seeing that there are no further discussion or changes to the conditions, I would now entertain a motion that we approve the conditions 1 through 17 as amended. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Are there any discussion? The vote occurs on the motion. Mr. Sloviter,
Yes.
Mr. Offeld,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
yeah, and the chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. The conditions are approved. We have approved the findings and the conditions. I would now entertain a motion that we approve the special permit and close the public hearing. Do I have such a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
It has been moved and second. Any discussion? No discussion. The vote occurs on the motion. Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes and the special permit is granted. And with the issuance of the special permit, the public hearing is also closed. Congratulations, Mr. Stahl, and good luck with your new location.
Thank you. I appreciate it, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Good night.
All right. See you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third order of business tonight is ZBA FY 2026-03, 65 High Street. Request a special permit under section 3.3241, converted dwelling to convert an open porch to a bedroom in one of the dwelling units. This meeting has been continued at the request of the applicant a couple times. I do want to refer to any new submissions, but while I pull up the application report, I'll invite Ms. Williams if you can just add the petitioners to join us. So just for the record, the application and the documentation that I have are the application management plan going back to October, continuance request going back to October, continued hearing responses going back to October, a lease agreement going back to October, a management plan addendum going back to October. I saw a document asking about an update going back to October, the application and management plan. And then there was, I believe the most recent was a public comment from Dix McComas, and forgive me if I'm butchering the last name. Ms. Williams, did I list everything correctly that we have?
Yes.
Thank you. And I do see Mr. Burson, who represents 65, present. So, Attorney Burston, we have continued this. The intent here tonight is to come to a resolution. The floor is yours. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Board, for having us here tonight. I will say just before I get rolling, we do have two other people who might be in attendance that should also be added. That would be Jeff Brooks from Solid State Construction and Chaim Abelman, who is our proposed property manager. So I just wanted to make sure that they also got included before I started. David Burson here from Legacy Counselors PC, an attorney working for a firm with offices in Amherst. Here tonight representing 65 High Street LLC, who is the owner of the property located at 65 High Street. With me tonight, as he's been here for most of our hearings, Alec Rovitz, who is the manager of that LLC, Jeff Brooks, who is from Solid State Construction, our general contractor, and then Chaim Abelman, who is our proposed property manager for this project. Just very briefly, I'm going to just really quickly just run through the previous submissions and the proposed application. Bear with me. I'm going to try to share my screen. And which one am I sharing? I think this is the right screen. Okay, I think, are you guys seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes, 65 High Street special permit. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So as you recall, we are here tonight as the chair succinctly stated, seeking a special permit under section 3.3241 for a converted dwelling. This property has been used as a multifamily for quite a long time now, and it has essentially had a a convoluted ownership history with respect to its status. And part of the reason that we are seeking this special permit is because we feel that it's more appropriate that this property be permitted as a converted dwelling, as it was a single-family home that had been converted into a two-family, as opposed to a duplex, which is traditionally something that's built as a multifamily structure. Additionally, as part of our application, and you can see our proposed site plans, we are proposing 5 parking spaces, 4 in the driveway, 3 along the southern portion of the driveway, 1 along the 1 within the garage structure on the left of the garage structure, and then 1 parked in front of the garage structure. As was noted, our application, we are specifically seeking permission to have more than 50% of those spaces to be compact spaces. That primarily because 3 of those spaces will be 1 foot shorter than the required 9 feet. So instead of these spaces being 9 by 18, we are proposing 8 feet by 20-foot spaces. Additionally, as part of our application, we were also seeking to encapsulate the existing porch located on the structure. The intent is to close in both the upper and bottom floor, the bottom floor to be converted into a new bedroom, and the top floor primarily being encapsulated just to secure the space below it, but it will essentially be additional storage space for all intents and purposes.
Attorney Burson, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Your presentation is not moving. I'm not sure if you you're just on the cover page. Yeah.
My goodness. I think I shared the wrong screen. Hold on. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay. So hopefully you're seeing a site plan.
I am now, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. I would have just kept going. So as I mentioned, we are additionally seeking permission to encapsulate the existing porch on the property. So there's it's a 2-story porch, so to speak. The bottom floor unit, we're looking to encapsulate and turn that into an additional bedroom. The top of the porch will essentially be encapsulated to protect the below structure, but will also be used for additional common space, essentially, for the second floor unit. That being said, if it's okay with this board, I'm going to skip past these floor plans just so we can get to the new items that have been submitted. So just moving forward here. So we've made some additional changes to this application since we last saw this board. So for instance, you may recall the last time we were here, we were proposing to have the property manager handle all of the maintenance for snow as well as landscaping. And at the board's suggestion, which I think was a wise one, my client did end up reaching out to and contracting with Four Seasons Property Maintenance to handle both the yard maintenance as far as the mowing during the spring and summer seasons. They would be mowing weekly and or bi-weekly, depending on need, as well as snow plowing services during the winter month, which would include both plowing of the driveway, salting the driveway, as well as hand shoveling and salting the other common walkway areas. Additionally, as part of our updated submissions, there had been a bunch of concerns and questions about how we're going to select a resident manager, what the process would look like, what the roles of that resident manager would look like relative to the property manager. And we believe we've done a nice job, addressing those concerns. So right off the bat, the primary location for seeking these resident managers would be through community resources. So our property manager, who can likely speak more to this shortly, is located or is affiliated with the UMass Hillel. He has a number of contacts within the community, and he would be one of the primary sources for us seeking resident managers for when the owner is out of the area on business. So as you may recall, they're part of the issues that my client has with this property is that although he does live here primarily, his job often requires that he be out of the area from anywhere from 6 months to more than a year, is my understanding. And part of the concern or part of what he's hoping to do is have somebody there keeping an eye on the place while he's gone. Whether or not this application or this special permit is approved Unfortunately, his job is what it is, and he will be required to effectively leave. So, from his standpoint, it makes sense to both have a property manager who's maintaining the property as well as a resident manager who's there to monitor on site. So that being said, the primary role of the property manager is one of monitoring. I'm sorry, I said property manager, I meant resident manager. The primary role of that resident manager will be essentially for monitoring's sake, making sure that there's any maintenance, that the property manager or the owner is aware of it. If there are issues, for instance, with people who are parking there who shouldn't be, notifying the property manager as well as the owner if that's the case. Primarily not supposed to be involved, specifically not going to be involved in, for instance, tenant disputes. Those are things that would be outside of the scope of that resident manager's position. They would be there on site, though, if there was a need for first responders or emergency personnel. We'd have somebody we know is there to address and to handle those types of situations. That being said, we have provided as well a lease addendum as to what the resident manager's essentially responsibilities would look like and what they're agreeing to. And additionally, we've also provided the application that a proposed resident manager would effectively have to fill out and complete in order to be, selected for this role. So you'll note from our submissions that there is significantly more clarity and transparency between what the resident manager does and what the property manager does. But additionally, as part of the selection process for that resident manager, part of the process will involve having the existing tenants weigh in on the selection. So not only would there be essentially a meeting with the owner and the tenants prior to selecting a resident manager, allowing them to provide suggestions if they have an alternative candidate that they'd like to propose, but also to see if there's going to be issues with compatibility with that individual as well as the tenants themselves. That resident manager will be submitting somewhat regular reports to the property manager, and the property manager will similarly be submitting reports to the owner on the status of the property if need be. Additionally, you'll see that we also included some additional information with respect to how the parking enforcement will work. We provided a lease addendum that effectively requires that the existing tenants to agree on what vehicles will be allowed to park on site. Each unit will be entitled to have 2 vehicles with 1 additional spot in the parking area for guest vehicles. Stickers will be provided for those authorized vehicles. There's timeframes within which people will have to provide updated vehicle information if they get new vehicles so that new stickers can be provided. And we have some straightforward proposals for parking enforcement as well. So if there's one violation, there'd be a warning. A second violation may require some additional potentially towing, or potentially somebody could potentially also be in violation of their lease because of this parking addendum that we're including. Additionally, not only will the resident manager be monitoring, but additionally the property manager will monitor, and the owner will also have additional security cameras that are located at the parking area. So if there are issues with parking, we will be informed of that fact. And the owner of the property already has a relationship with Ernie's Towing, specifically to enforce these types of infractions. That being said, there's also some additional information provided in the tenant's lease addendum. If there are requests for additional vehicles, or if the parking situation is untenable, the landlord is willing to get an additional offsite parking spot for those units at the University of Massachusetts. And then additionally, as far as additional updates, I also wanted to confirm that we did get confirmation from the Amherst Fire Department. You may recall at the last meeting, Dave Waskiewicz was kind enough to go out of his way to speak with the fire department specifically about this issue for us. And they were able to confirm for me, once again, that this is something that is not primarily a concern for them, because this has been utilized in this capacity for as long as it has been. So they did not have issues with our proposed parking plan. We did initially have a concern that there was a possibility they may want us to move the parking spots maybe from one side of the driveway to the other side of the driveway, but they seem to think that this is appropriate, that our proposal is acceptable to them. Additionally, I do have Jeff Brooks here because I did want him to speak a little bit more On the garage itself, I know that there were some concerns about how we were going to secure that structure, the unsafe portion of it. So I'd like to turn it over to Jeff right now so he can touch base with this board and give you guys an update on what he's proposing.
Okay, so
Mr. Brooks, just please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Jeff Brooks. My address is 59 Jewel Hill Road in Ashburnham. I'm the owner of Solid State Construction. So with the garage, I believe our current discussion is to seal it up and not allow access to it, right? So we had it's a really unconventional structure built quite a long time ago, and there's these beams that run across that at some point must have started failing because they've created a suspension system where there's like these threaded rods that run down through the two beams and try to support them upwards. But at any rate, we want to at some point evaluate how to make it a safe structure for parking, but at this point we don't feel it is.
Attorney Burson, is that your presentation?
That's primarily it. I would also add that in addition to just, there will be locks on that structure. It will not be accessible. There will be signs on that structure notifying people that they are not allowed entry into the garage. So it will be very clear that the right portion of the garage where no cars are allowed to park will not be accessible. It won't be used for storage. Nobody will physically be able to enter that space.
I do have one question before I turn it over to the board members. I think in the couple times that we were here, is there a time frame as to make a decision on the garage? I think that was one of the questions I had asked the last time we were here.
Yeah, my understanding at this point is that there's, while they ultimately would like to fix the garage structure, I think there's a concern with the expense and the timing of that. So for instance, this structure, my understanding is technically part of the historical, Massachusetts Historical Commission. This entire building is. So for instance, it's not a simple process even to just remove this structure necessarily. It would require additional approvals through the Historical Commission. So I think ultimately the hope would be to revive that portion so that parking could occur in there. But as of right now, I don't think there's a clear answer or knowledge as to what the actual ultimate expense would be for something like that, as well as a potential time frame for it. That being said, I mean, ultimately, it's certainly to our best interest to have that fixed sooner than later, if only because we could potentially have an additional parking space on this lot as opposed to offering tenants the possibility of having an offsite paid for parking space, which would, obviously be ideal for our purposes.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor to questions from board members to the applicant. Mr. Offeld?
There's been a series of leases submitted over the various submissions, and I just want to make sure that the one submitted in December, we just got a few last week, I guess, is the operative one.
That's correct.
That's correct. And is that the lease that would be used for all tenants or just the resident manager?
That would be just for the resident manager. The previous submission in October had I believe that had the other leases, the standard lease agreement.
Okay.
So this was specifically for the one bedroom effectively.
Okay. And does is it your expectation that the resident manager would live in one of the units? That is there a bedroom or unit that is sort of specified for the resident manager?
So I believe, Alec, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was that what will be the bedroom in that first floor unit would be effectively the resident manager unit.
Attorney Burson, there's something
Yes.
going on with your audio.
Oh,
That's
sorry
better
about that.
now.
Okay.
Can you repeat your answer?
Sure, of course. I believe the intent is for the new proposed bedroom on that first floor to be the resident manager and or the owner's unit.
So the resident manager would then, I guess, potentially share that unit with 3 other tenants.
That's correct, and that was the idea behind having the the resident manager selection process specifically include a compatibility meeting between the proposed tenants and that individual before it becomes official. Making sure that everybody understands A, this is another tenant of yours, but B, they are not they're not in charge, they're not your boss. Their role is primarily there for monitoring and oversight. So it's not a person to go to specifically because you've got complaints, about another tenant. That's something that you can take up with the property manager and or the owner, but it's not the type of situation we specifically want the resident manager to be in. We'd much rather have that person be somebody living there, but who's got their eye on the property, and the property manager and the owner being the ones who actually enforce things on site.
Mr. Offield, if you permit let me just ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
Here. So, Attorney Burson, I think we had this conversation a couple times where there was that concern that we're asking potential tenants to interact with a complete stranger that they may not be related to sharing the same space. And we had concerns as to how that would work. I don't think your answer just now clarified that.
And what's the additional concern? I think from our standpoint, they'd already be living with the owner of the property who would not be part of their, whatever group of individuals they were when they joined the place. The idea behind the compatibility meeting before a resident manager is chosen is specifically to give them an opportunity to object if they do have issues with that individual. If they have problems, then that will absolutely be taken into consideration. We're not looking to put somebody in there who's going to cause more problems on site.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, the resident manager would also be a different leaseholder.
That's correct. So the resident manager would be a tenant, unlike the property manager, who is not a resident of the property, but is a local who would be managing the enforcement of the rules and regulations under the lease.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Offield. You can continue with your questions.
Actually, I was all done. I think all set.
Thank you. Mrs. Sloviter?
Well, I continue to have a number of questions and issues with the resident manager thing, and also there are references to the owner's presence in the building that I believe, I want to make sure I hear you correctly. The bedroom, the porch that will be enclosed in your proposal and will be a bedroom will, I believe you just said, be occupied by the resident manager and the owner, or the owner, something like that. So there have been a number of references to the presence of the owner in this building. Is this building currently the owner's primary residence?
Yes.
But there was also a reference to the necessity of the owner, made necessary by his job, to be not in the building, not living there, and out of town for quite extended periods of time. So does that mean that when the owner leaves town for, let's say, 3 months, that is when the resident manager moves into that unit, into that bedroom? Because otherwise, are they sharing a bedroom, and then the owner leaves? How can the owner and the resident manager both occupy that bedroom?
We would not be sharing a bedroom.
Mr. Chair, point of order. I think Mr. Rovitz is joining our conversation. And of course, we welcome that, but doesn't he need to introduce himself? And
Thank you, Mr. Offeld. Mr. Rovitz, can you introduce yourself for the record, please, and state your address?
Yes, I apologize, and apologies for the no video. I'm lacking a little bandwidth at the moment. My name is Alec Rovitz. I'm the owner of 65 High Street, and 65 High Street is my primary address.
Thank you, Mr. Rovitz.
To answer that question, though, Mr. Sloger, that is correct. They would not be occupying the space at the same time.
So how would this work when Mr. Rovitz leaves for 3 months? Do you then find another resident manager to move in for those 3 months, and then that manager leaves at the end of 3 months when Mr. Rovitz returns to Amherst?
I think so. It would probably be specific to the assignment that he's called away on. So, for instance, if it's expected to be a 6-month-long assignment, they can enter into a lease agreement for those 6 months, and that would be the resident manager space for that period of time. At the end of that period of time, the lease would expire, and he would move back into the unit.
I could just share some color into the selection process and how I plan to create a continuum around the resident manager selection. So I've been in constant contact with the school and several organizations, and I continue to check in at regular intervals. Every 3 to 4 months, I plan on checking in with these organizations and having a pool of candidates who would likely serve as a resident manager on standby in anticipation for a potential departure. My work gives me somewhat of a notice, and so I can semi-planned around it in terms of an academic calendar. And so if I were to need to leave, I would have a pool of candidates ready to interview and to undertake that resident manager selection process to replace my role at the residence.
So will this be a job for the person as well?
It won't be a job, but in, I guess, compensation for undertaking this, I will provide a rent discount for the responsibilities undertaken by the resident manager. And I believe that is highlighted in the lease that has been shared with you all.
So the resident manager, which sounds like it could be a bit of a revolving door. It could be every 3 months or every 6 months or something.
So just to attenuate that concern, the way my work works is I would never be gone for a small duration of time, such as 90 days. I would be gone at a minimum 6-month intervals. And so I would structure this process around the academic calendar so there isn't a revolving door. And so during one tenancy, if I am leaving for, let's just call it the second semester, there is a resident manager in place for the duration of that semester.
Okay. So the resident manager is, I'm stating this to make sure I understand what you're proposing, because so many aspects of this are so unusual and strike me as such a potential for problems. The resident manager is essentially going to be hired by a committee that includes the other tenants who become tenants of the property, not through a selection process as much as they need a place to live, they're willing to pay the rent, and they choose to live there. So there's going to be some sort of a committee, for lack of a different term, that's going to interview or consider a potential resident manager to essentially become their roommate for the 6-month period. Is that
correct?
Is that correct?
Correct. So included in our application materials, we provide a resident manager selection form and an addendum for the other tenants as well. So We would be screening candidates. I would be communicating with the property manager to make sure that the candidates meet a specific criteria that we're both looking for as someone who will be our first point of contact should I leave. And then my ultimate goal, again, is to make sure that people live homogeneously within the property, given that this is a third party. Students have lived in dorms with resident managers just fine, and not to say that RAs, resident assistances, and not to say that this role is of an RA, but it's supposed to be someone that everyone is comfortable living with. And so a final decision is not going to just be made around they're willing to pay the rent and they're willing to do the responsibilities. I'm looking to strategically find someone so there are no problems. And that's what I think the continuous search and touch points that I've created within the community serve to do.
Well, I'm much more concerned about what seems to me to be the lack of distance between the resident manager and the fulfillment of his role from the other tenants in the unit and in the building. So the resident manager, you have two different units which are separated by a staircase. So if the resident manager is living on the first level, he's also supervising the second level, but in that case, he has distance from the residents of the upstairs. But one of the things that I expressed at a previous meeting about this is that the resident manager is not living in a unit that is in any way separated from the other people on the first floor. So he's supposed to be observing and supervising in some manner, presumably including the behavior of the other people on that floor and the upstairs. But there's no separation. They're essentially roommates. So we approved, hold on a minute, please. This board approved an arrangement that was being changed from owner-occupied to non-owner occupied. I believe it was on McClellan. And there was a separate unit. It was much smaller, but it had a separate entrance, separate kitchen facilities and bathroom. And the manager was not living actually with the people he's supposed to be supervising. And it's that blurring of the role that is very unusual. I've never heard of it. When I was in living in dorms 100 years ago at least, there was a resident manager or an RA, and there was a clear role involving maintaining discipline and maintaining the behavior on the floor. And this person lives separately. And I don't quite grasp how this person living in the room that you're not living in for 6 months and sharing kitchen and bathroom and everything is supposed to be if necessary, a restraining influence on the other residents of that unit.
So this is something that Chaim and I have actually discussed at length. The role of the resident manager is not about entering units or monitoring private behavior. It's about observing shared and exterior areas, coordinating maintenance, reporting issues through a defined process. Those responsibilities can be fully and effectively carried out without access to private units. But importantly, the resident manager is not a decision maker. All enforcement would remain with the property manager. He observes equally for both units and has no discretion or favor or disadvantage from one household over the other. And the addendum that all of the tenants would sign, it would be from both units. And something that we had discussed is we think it's as simple as just checking in on all of the tenants 2-3 times a week. just walking through the units. Hey, guys, just checking in, any issues, stuff of that nature. I don't think this is about playing police officer in the units. And I think the resident manager, though isolated to one of the units, can serve that function as the liaison between PM and owner.
So the net result of this is changing it from an owner-occupied building to a non-owner occupied building, just to a non-owner occupied 2-unit apartment building. Is that accurate?
Well, this is when I'm not traveling for work, I intend to reside in Amherst. So this is just about creating rules and structure for when I'm not there.
Right, which seems that you're indicating would be at least 50% of the time.
Not necessarily 50% of the time. Me stating 6 months is arbitrary. In 18 months from now, I could be told I need to travel for 6 months. There is no consistent cadence to it. This is more or less a contingency for when I have to leave the property.
Right, but you said you're not leaving the property for 90 for periods as short as 90 days. You're leaving it for considerably longer periods during which this would not be an owner-occupied building.
I'm not familiar with the definition
that's correct. Yes, that is correct, Mr. Slaughter.
Okay.
And from our standpoint, I think the reality of the situation is Mr. Rovitz will have to do this traveling. That is the reality of the situation. This is going to be, when he's not traveling, his primary residence. That's unfortunately the reality he's faced with. And our hope is to put something in place so that we know that there is a structure in there if something were to happen while he's not present. Whether we believe that this is the most effective way to make sure that there is somebody on site who knows that they have to keep an eye on things. Having a property manager who's locally managing the property if maintenance or other issues do crop up while Mr. Rovitz is not present, because from our standpoint, the alternative is significantly worse.
Thank you.
So, and I'm going to ask a potentially ridiculous question. I'm not sure if I heard this anywhere, but Mr. Rovitz, if this is meant to be your primary residence, and is your unit being rented out to other people? Are you in that unit by yourself, or is that unit available to be rented as well?
I think that would be at my discretion and ultimately an economic decision on my part. I guess just to speak very frankly to you all, I was poorly guided when I purchased this property, and I was unaware of the conditions that were placed on the property. And I did spend a considerable sum of money purchasing the property. And I am simply looking to almost attenuate my lack of diligence and not force myself to sell the property because Amherst is a place that I call home. And so I guess I can't predict the future. I don't know how my finances are going to affect me renting the unit that I'm living in the future, but I would like to leave the optionality for me to rent that unit as well.
So thank you for that. But the heart of my question was, if this is a owner occupied, if you're saying that this is your residence, which under the bylaws would make it, owner occupied, I'm just trying to understand why it's so complicated, so convoluted. If this is your primary residence, and yes, I get it that you travel for work, most people do at times, isn't the complication here just you trying to rent your unit as opposed to, okay, you live there, one unit is rented, but it's still owner occupied? I'm just trying to.
That's correct. I don't want to face economic hardship if I can correctly rent my unit out to make sure I cover my expenses for the property.
So essentially, you're saying that when you're not there, you would intend to rent out your unit.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Are there, Mr. Offeld?
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Robitz, when you are there, you would not rent out your unit. Is that right?
I don't, this past year, I didn't. But I think it really depends on my economic situation. If I had to, I certainly would. I think it all depends.
Well,
And I apologize for the answer that's not so clear. It's a very fickle financial situation I feel that I put myself in.
Well, I appreciate that, but there is a regulation which you may not be familiar with that limits the number of non-related residents in a rental unit to 4 people. So if you've already got 3 tenants in the lower unit under this scenario, I'm sorry. The current situation is you have only 3 bedrooms downstairs.
Correct.
So
we could be adding a 4th.
That's a different situation. But if you had 4 bedrooms, you could only have 4 people in that
Correct.
unit. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
But okay. So I have to say I'm a little bit confused now if this is an owner occupied request or a non-owner occupied request. But we can get to that.
The chair recognizes Mr. Meadows.
Sorry.
You're muted, Mr. Meadows.
Sorry. It seems to me that Mr. Rovitz needs to do some math. That he probably should look at this and determine if he is not there and does not rent out his unit, then can he make this work or not? Because it's better to have the 3 tenants downstairs than to have no tenants downstairs other than himself in a owner-occupied situation. As it is, the complexity of this has gotten beyond anything we've seen in the past. And if it is an owner-occupied, he has every right to he doesn't have to come to the ZBA. If it is non-owner occupied, he's got a problem. Because I see the complexity, the wishful thinking, that I hope this works out right, as something that is going to be difficult for him to get through the board. That's my perspective.
The chair recognizes Mr. White. I'm sorry, Mr. Meadows, did you have
I
anything
was
else?
just going to say, I agree with the sentiments that I hear expressed from Mr. Sloviter.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just have a few concerns, and what I would like to do is actually just kind of go through them all at once, and then we can kind of address them if need be. So the applicant has mentioned having an interaction, revolving around the academic calendar, these sort of things with the resident manager. I'm a little confused looking at the documentation and the various conversations that we've had over the several meetings, if we're in a period where it's on the academic calendar, summertime, it's a break, there's something else, and the applicant is somewhere for work. At that point, who's the resident manager? Secondly, we're getting this 6-month figure that I've myself heard, and then several other members of the board have heard from the applicant himself. My question is, if the applicant is away for work, and this is 6 months, 9 months at a time, it's not an owner-occupied space at that point. I mean, these are my kind of chief concerns. I'm just confused, and I really would like some further clarity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. White. Attorney Burson?
Thank you. So I think just the reason that we have approached this application the way we have, after discussion with the planning department, was we were seeking specifically a permit for this as a converted dwelling, because the converted dwelling subsection of the bylaw allows for non-owner occupancy with a resident manager and a property manager. So we have been seeking this application specifically as a non-owner occupied application. The caveat to that being that it's not actually non-owner occupied for the majority of the time. I think that is kind of driving some of the potential confusion here.
Mr.
Oh, sorry.
Burson, can I interrupt you real quick?
Of course.
Based off of everything that's been stated on the record by the applicant, if they are away for on average 6 months at a time with just one assignment a year, then they're not in the unit for the majority of the time.
But
With one removal, they're there half of the time. With more than one, period of being away, just to correct that on the record, it's not a matter of they're there the majority of the time. At best, at minimum, they're there 50% of the time.
Mr. White, the cadence of my travel is actually not yearly. It's sporadic. So for instance, for the past 2.5 years, I haven't had an assignment that has required travel. This is for the contingency that I do need to travel.
Yes, but based off your own statements, if you do have to travel one time per year, then you're not in that calendar year, you're not in the unit for the majority of the time.
It would still be, just from a technical standpoint, if, for instance, and I'm just saying, let's say that this remains a 3-bedroom unit with a 4-bedroom unit upstairs. This is just a hypothetical scenario. 3-bedroom unit on the bottom floor. Mr. Rovitz is living in one of the bedrooms, and he is elected to rent out 2 of the bedrooms in his downstairs unit. So it's 3 people living in the downstairs, and there's 4 people living upstairs. And that's something he'd be allowed to do just as technically it's owner occupied. If he were to leave for a 6-month, 9-month assignment, it's technically still owner occupied because that is still his primary residence. He's living in a hotel for 6 months or 9 months, doesn't make that no longer his primary residence. The only difference in that scenario would be there's no oversight. There's no resident manager. There's no property manager. It's just, it is what it is. That's partly why we're here, is because we're looking for a mechanism so that when that scenario does happen, we know that there's oversight of this property in place. We know that there is, somebody keeping an eye on things. And I think from our standpoint, the reality is, yes, it's possible he may be gone for 6 months, but that does not change the fact that it is still his primary residence.
And I'm agreeing with you, Attorney Burson. The principal residence, that is a definition. He can be gone forever and a day if, that is his principal residence. But I think what your application is complicated because he wants the option to rent out his unit when he's not there. And the scenarios that he's proposing as to how to go through that's just making things complicated. Because as Mr. Meadows said, if things stay the way they are, you guys do not need to be here at all, because it is an owner occupied property. That is his residence. He has a property manager when he's not there. But as you heard from Mr. Rovitz himself, he wants the option to rent his unit when he's there or when he's not there. And therein lies the complication. And so going back to what everyone's concern is, it's very convoluted to say. But go ahead, Attorney Burson. Mm-hmm.
No, that's okay. You can keep going.
So, are there any other? I do have a couple questions. So, one of the submissions that we receive were call logs from APD, and I just want to, there are some noise complaints there, and they were actually, from my review, they were earlier this season, rather, if I'm looking at this correctly, this month, and some in September. Mr. Rovitz, were you there in those months at the property?
I had left the property at the tail end of October to travel to Manhattan to HSS for a shoulder surgery.
So one of the complaints is dated October 5th, October 4th, September 11th. And there was also a liquor law violation in August, all of this year.
I was not made aware of anything. I do know when I was absent from the property, I had been in constant contact with tenants, at least once a day. I had been notified of a noise complaint, and it was almost immediately attenuated.
So there were 3 noise complaints and the liquor law violation. But again, I don't think you're answering my question. Were you there on October 4th, 5th, 9/11, and 8/28 of this year?
I would have to revert back to, I believe in early October I was. I don't know if I was present at the property at the time of a violation. I don't know my exact whereabouts on those dates, but
And that's
I was
okay.
Amherst.
But you're saying that you also were not made aware of those noise complaints.
I was not. No one had routed that through any channel to communicate that with me. I had one text message from a neighbor, and I had immediately called the tenants to basically tell them that you guys are being too noisy, and that was that.
And just to refresh my recollection, do you have an existing property manager?
No, that's the reason for this application, to put rules in place and to create a tried and true system, like a professional housing system with defined roles, monitoring, written rules, and pre-planned remedies, rather than relying on informal oversight or tenant discretion.
Do any members of the board have any other questions or comments for the applicant or for Attorney Grierson? I see no affirmative response, and with that, I will go to public comments. I'm sorry, was there someone?
No, that was me. I was just going to make one more comment, but I'll wait till after public comment.
If there are any members of the public who wish to comment on this application, this is the opportunity to do so. Each member is allowed a maximum speaking time of 3 minutes. If you are appearing via Zoom, please utilize the raise hand function. If you're appearing over the telephone, I believe you press *9 to be recognized.
There aren't any members of the public here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So
You're
given that
waving them
there,
all away.
given that there are no public comments, are there any further comments from the applicants before I move this public hearing into a public meeting?
I was going to make one initial comment just in response to something you had said earlier, Mr. Chair, which is that I think we'd still, if the intent were for him to be there and never leave on his work projects or attempt to rent out his room when that was the case, or his unit when that was the case, I think we'd still be here before this board seeking, essentially we'd have to get permission to add that additional bedroom regardless. Primarily because the number of units was specified in previous special permits. So I think we'd be required to do that regardless. But I would also just like to add, and first I'd like to thank the board for having us here, for entertaining this application. We really do appreciate all the comments we've received. You can tell, I'm sure, that your feedback has in a very large and real way informed how this application has taken shape. We have certainly tried to be mindful of your concerns and address them to the best of our abilities. And we truly believe that this is a better alternative to what's currently there on site. The proposal of having a resident manager on site when the owner is not present, but more importantly, also having a property manager involved, conditions related to landscaping and snow maintenance. I think that there's a lot of benefit to granting a special permit on this application by way of the conditions that you have the ability to impose on it. And we hope that you seriously consider what we are proposing, because once again, we feel that this is the best alternative to a potentially untenable situation for both Mr. Rovitz as well as the current tenants and the neighbors potentially. So thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Pearson.
May I
Mr.
say a
Rovitz?
few words?
Yeah.
Yeah, may I say a few words?
Yes.
First off, I just want to thank all of you for your attention to this application. If anything, it really has made me understand that I need a plan, I need structure, and I kind of got myself in a sticky situation by being guided poorly when I purchased this property. That said, I really truly do believe that the materials put forth a professional housing system and structure with defined roles. My goal is not to have a nuisance house when I'm not there. My goal is to be a member of the community, and I am just deathly afraid of getting myself into financial hardship if there is no place or process forget the extra room, the fourth room, for me to be able to rent the unit while I'm not there. I would like to increase the footprint and the livability of my residence, which is henceforth why we went through the process of trying to add the bedroom and enclosing the porch. I think besides the livability, Jeff could attest, that's also a structural issue, and we're really wanting to enclose that porch. It's structurally unsound, and there are weatherization issues. And I hope that, as convoluted as this application was, you could just hear where I'm coming from, that I don't want to be forced to sell the house if, God forbid, I have to travel for work. And I want a plan in place. I want to be a member of this community, and I don't want issues. And I'm a little upset that no one had called me during the complaints or when there were issues. But this application serves to put process and structure around that.
I have another question. What is the timeline to, if this permit gets granted, what is the timeline to convert that porch into a bedroom and to actually have people in that space?
I don't necessarily know that it would be rented right away. I think the whole process that we undertook was merely a function of Jeff's ability to work, material cost, and the ballooning costs of this application and project. It was kind of really moved by my financial situation more than anything. I'll let Jeff chime in.
Before Jeff chimes in, so you're asking for two things. The first one is to convert the porch into a bedroom, and then the ability to rent out the space when you're not there. So, understanding your answer just now to say you don't know when it'll be rented, let's assume for the first part about the conversion, the actual work itself.
Sure.
Is there a projected timeline to get this work completed?
I still have to defer to Jeff. I think there are building implications that Jeff could speak to.
He's got his hand raised, so let's let Jeff answer that question.
Brooks?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. So so what I can speak to, of course, is the building side of this, right? I don't, as far as the zoning and owner occupancy side of it, that's not really my ball of wax. But that porch, when Alec first had me look at it, I walked on it and it's very bouncy, and I looked underneath, and everything on that porch is overspanned. The deck boards are overspanned, the joists are overspanned, the beams overspanned, the footings are overspanned. There's nothing that's really in compliance with any code that's been around for the last 30 or 40 years. So it should be rebuilt, period. And then in discussion of, hey, feasibility wise, if we're going to rebuild this porch, the difference between rebuilding it and rebuilding it as a bedroom is pretty minimal. So that's kind of what I was looking at from the building side. And then as far as the time to build, we are in the winter now, so that does present some challenges as far as getting proper footings in the ground. I think really from, let's say, approval to, so let's say from my end, from breaking ground until when that structure is complete, we're probably looking at something like 4 to 6 weeks from when we actually start work till when we can deliver a completed, room or porch, regardless of which way it goes.
Thank you. So again, thank you, Attorney Pearson, Mr. Rubitz, and Mr. Brooks for being here. And unless there are any further questions or any comments from the applicant, I would entertain a motion to move the public hearing to a public meeting while keeping the public hearing open. Again, being mindful that the public meeting is not where the applicants get to add anything else. It's just for the board to discuss the merits of this application. Do I have such a motion to move the public hearing to a public meeting? I see Mr. Meadows saying so moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? With no discussion, the vote occurs. Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. With unanimous consent, we are now into the public meeting while keeping the public hearing open. And I know there was a lot that was said in our initial discussion, as well as over the many the other meetings that we've had. So I will give each member of the board an opportunity to weigh in as to their thoughts on this petition. Mr. Meadows?
I think if we're voting on all of this as a ball of wax, I would certainly vote no. However, I am fine with the structural work that they want to do. I am not fine with it being a two-family without with any kind of managers separate. I feel that if they want to do resident managers or local managers, they don't, and they have it, the building as a owner-occupied building, there's nothing to prohibit them from doing that. They made this entire application far more complex than it needed to be. When the first time Mr. Slover and I were on site with Mr. Rovit, we suggested to him that he just do this as an owner-occupied building. He obviously didn't listen to us and has made this extremely complex, very wishful thinking as far as the parking is concerned, to try and get that number of compact cars on site and require that they only be compact cars is going to be pretty tough. There are other areas of wishful thinking, particularly in regard to the resident manager, that just don't make any sense to me. So my overall, I would say no to the overall plan, but if we can separate out the construction that they want to do, that's fine, as long as they're not renting out that space downstairs.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. Mr. Sloviter?
Well, I'm happy to go next. Well, everything that Mr. Meadows said is absolutely relevant, and I agree. I don't want to appear unsympathetic I recognize the ambition in trying to make a real estate investment, and I'm sorry that Mr. Rovitz received incorrect or questionable information, but it's not our responsibility to approve something in order to fix that problem. The resident manager issue is central to me on this one. The problem of a non-owner occupied building is not centered around monitoring landscaping and snow removal. It's generally around tenant behavior when the converted property is in an otherwise residential neighborhood. And we have seen enough hard evidence that says that converted residential buildings in residential neighborhoods where the owner is not present become nuisance properties. And that's why we look at all of this the way we do. And the process that they are proposing for a resident manager who may not, even be in residence all the time doesn't solve the problems. It doesn't really address this. There's no separation, as I mentioned before, between the proposed resident manager and his or her roommates. And this would just be a two-family dwelling in a residential neighborhood. I agree that this is overly complicated. It doesn't address the issues. There are ways of doing this that are not being addressed. I sympathize greatly with Mr. Rovitz for the financial difficulty that he's facing, but it's not up to us to fix that. And I will not vote to approve this. The most I would be willing to do is to allow it to be withdrawn without prejudice so that he could address the real substance of our concerns and come back in less than 2 years. Otherwise, I would simply vote no on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. Mr. Offeld?
Thank you. So I'm just going to step through the specific requests. The first was that the building be, or the site be defined as a converted dwelling. And in my judgment, it does meet the definition of a converted dwelling. So I think a special permit issued as a converted dwelling makes sense. That's the easy part. I didn't have any problem with the parking. I think that what has been proposed works fine, is acceptable. Adding the bedroom, I think that's also acceptable. I don't think it substantially changes the character of the building. I think the design that we've seen as shown in the renderings is fits reasonably well in the neighborhood. But the nub, of course, is the owner occupied or resident manager piece. And again, I as I said a few minutes ago, I'm confused about whether this is indeed an owner occupied property. And it sounds like, and Mr. Meadows said this more clearly perhaps, that what's being proposed here is that it remain owner occupied. And if Mr. Rovitz wants to rent out his room and have some congenial arrangement of how a temporary tenant in that room it integrates into the rest of the building, that's great. He can do that. It's It's not, but it's not something we have to approve. At least that's my understanding. So I think I'd be okay with approving a special permit that's converted dwelling, parking, and the addition, the new bedroom, but does not take that, but is owner occupied.
Thank you, Mr. Offeld. Mr.
And
White?
I don't know if we can do that tonight. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, but anyway, that's where I am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for not having my video on. I appear to be having bandwidth issues as well. I won't take a whole lot of everyone's time. I would agree with the statements that have been made by the board. As it stands before me, I would not be able to vote in the affirmative for this petition or application, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. White. I think together we've had the benefit of having this application for so long that we've had very clear opportunities to review and consider all the things that we've raised and have discussed here. So it's not as if this came before us tonight, like most applications usually do, and we'll make a decision in that one hearing. But we've taken it away, we've given feedback, we've come back, continued, and reviewed documentation materials. And while I do agree that I actually do agree that it is a converted dwelling, and I agree that if you want to build that additional bedroom, you should be allowed to do so. As you heard from your contractor, the deck is unsafe, so that also should be looked at regardless of what happens here tonight. And, you know, but the way it is written, and I know that we're not bound by precedents, but the way it's written, we don't want to set a bad precedent or a bad example for future development or future applications. And I think, as convoluted as it sounds, I think supporting this would create that perception. As you heard from Mr. Meadows, we appreciate your financial concern, as you know, and hear you saying you're given bad advice. And yes, that happens at times. And regardless of what happens with this special permit, you have options, and none of those options is so extreme that you have to get rid of your property. It's just that the proposal as is creates issues that we've articulated and made suggestions, but we're still not comfortable with what you're proposing. And that is the heart of everything. It is, I can and would support having the work done, but to have approve the ability to have you rent it as you are proposing, that is problematic for me. And so I initially had a thought about this, full disclosure to the board, is could we approve a special permit with very specific conditions? And I believe there are things that we can do, like a check-in period. Now, the question is that the application, even if we were to vote on something tonight, the question would be what is it that we would approve, because of the way the application is. Because I don't think we're allowed to change the application so we can approve something. So that also in itself creates an issue. Even if we wanted to approve something, we don't have something that we can approve in front of us. So I do see Attorney Beerson's hands raised and Ms. Rovis' hands waved. This is a public meeting. It's usually not the opportunity to weigh in, but with the board's permission, if you're comfortable in taking a couple of questions from them or comments, with your permission, I will allow Attorney Beerson to ask his question or make his comment. Just by raise of hand if you're comfortable with, okay. Attorney Beerson?
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I would just note that and obviously you're welcome to take this information um, and verify yourselves, but my understanding that the application itself, the section 3.3241 for converted dwellings and incorporates both an owner-occupied situation as well as if there is non-owner occupancy, the resident manager and property manager situation. So you could approve the changes to the structure and the special permit as a converted dwelling without approving the owner occupancy request. So just to put that out there, this is the same section of the bylaw which was noticed, for all of the prior meetings. So there's no issues with respect to notice relative to the application. And once again, since it is the exact same section of the underlying bylaw, this could technically still be approved, obviously in a different format than we were proposing. Thank you.
And I do believe, just to add to that, this was approved as a converted dwelling on special permit going back to 1993.
I believe I'd have to double check the 1993 permit. I know that there have been a number of permits. Some of them treated this as a duplex. So I don't want to speak out of turn and say definitively that it was approved as a converted dwelling. I mean, that was part of why we made this application, was following discussion with the planning department, was that this is actually more appropriately a converted structure than a duplex.
Thank you. Thank you. So procedurally, this is a very difficult one. And so by my tally, Mr. Meadows was a no as is, could support something in part. Mr. Silver was a no, but would allow withdrawal without prejudice to come back. Mr. Offeld was an okay with the converted dwelling and the owner occupied, and Mr. White was a no. So by that count, I do not believe you have the votes. So unless members of the board have changed their position after hearing from Attorney Burson on the converted dwelling, the votes are not there to approve anything tonight.
Mr. Chair, I would fully support a vote where we're doing this. What was it? Without, Lord, my brain's turned off. It's been a long day. Without prejudice.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's okay. Mr. Silver, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I'm debating with myself whether I should make a suggestion here. The chair has clearly stated in the past that we try and work with applicants if it's possible, if they appropriately address our concerns. We're not here to be difficult, but there are certain things that I don't feel we can do in this case. I don't have a problem with enclosing the two porches. That's not the center of the problem here. It has to do with owner occupied and the complications, and as the chair put it, wishful thinking, or somebody said wishful thinking. I think it was the chair, but I'm not sure. Maybe it was Mr. Meadows. Whoever said it was brilliant. Okay. So I would suggest, in order to give Mr. Rovitz one more opportunity to actually address our concerns, which we have raised before and were not adequately addressed, I don't believe, in this proposal. We expressed concerns about the non-owner occupied nature of the proposal, and they've come back with this complicated resident manager who doesn't have authority and is going to monitor the property to make sure the landscaping is done, which is not at the center of any of our concerns. So I would suggest that we allow Mr. Rovitz, and through Mr. Burson or however it's done, to withdraw the application without prejudice and come back with a proposal that is not nearly as complicated or as difficult to enforce, that maintains the owner-occupied nature of the building. And if they want to do that, I would support withdrawal without prejudice so that Mr. Rovitz is not locked into a 2-year waiting period before he can come back. Other than that, I can't even begin to approve this tonight.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Sloviter. And logistically also, just to add to that as well, even if we were to consider something in piecemeal, which I don't like the idea, our conditions and our findings we will need to make, and Ms. Williams will need to go back and do a lot of rework on this so we can have a clean version to actually put in a special permit. So I am also leaning on the withdrawal without prejudice. Mr. Offeld?
Yes, I would just concur with that sentiment.
Thank you. Mr. Meadows, I saw your hand.
I have to stop taking the audio offline. I am also in agreement with you and Mr. Offeld and Mr. Sloviter. And I assume Mr. White as far as allowing them to withdraw without prejudice so that they can come back with a very simple owner-occupied building that wants to have some structural work.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. And Mr. Burson, as a courtesy, I will allow you to make a comment one last time in the public meeting.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I know that it is not the standard protocol, so it is appreciated. Once again, I wanted to thank everybody for your time, but I also am hoping that this board would consider, I know that you don't want to do anything piecemeal, potentially approving at least the structural changes tonight, and or at least consider it. If not, I understand, but if you don't ask, you don't get, my family used to say.
So I mean, you heard from everyone. I don't think we're comfortable doing so tonight. And again, it's, our next meeting is 3 weeks away in January. So, if you come back with something clean, you choose a date, but if you come back with something clean, I know time is probably part of your consideration while asking for a vote tonight. Hearing the sentiments and just coming back before us with, you have a better chance of getting a yes on that date. Because again, logistically and technically, there's a lot of things that needs to go into the special permit, and we rely on Ms. Williams to do a lot of that. And the way it is, I don't think she can make all those edits and changes to conditions and findings in real time.
I believe Mr. Rovitz needs to ask for withdrawal without prejudice.
If you can just give me 1 second, I'm communicating with him offline, so to speak, just to get his.
Would I be able to, I'm comfortable asking Jeff here in front of you all, just in the interest of transparency. Would I be able to just ask Jeff a question? It's totally okay with me if you guys all hear the answer.
It is in the public record, so if you're comfortable with it being recorded, then yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was pretty transparent today. Jeff, with, I guess, the pushed timeline, your availability and cost, can you just let me know if that's going to balloon things on your end? I'm not really sure how that works, but I would love to just get a good understanding of that, because that's central to me at the moment.
I think, Alec, somewhat to what we discussed, I guess a few days ago, the big issue right now is going to be getting the ground soft enough to dig the proper footings to support whatever we build there, right? So it's going to be that, we've got to figure out how to, I guess, essentially section off the area to keep the weather from keeping the ground frozen, so we can get some ground thaw there and get the footings dug. And that's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be a time push. Other than that, once we got the footings dug and we can get the concrete set, then the rest of the build still would proceed just as fast as it would have 3 months ago.
Understood. Thank you.
We are specifically asking this board's permission to withdraw without prejudice.
Thank you, Mr. Burson. Members of the board, 65 High Street has officially asked to withdraw without prejudice. I will take a vote on allowing to do so. Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
Aye.
Mrs. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
Can I ask you all a question? I apologize for interrupting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Roberts. I will let you communicate with Attorney Pearson, but I think I don't know what your question is going to be, but I'm going to say some things that may hopefully give you some timelines.
No worries.
So, as I said earlier, our next meeting is in January. I believe it's January 8th. And I know that new applications, and Ms. Williams, I'm going to rely on you to answer this question, past the deadline to be on that docket. Given what we've decided here tonight, are we breaking any rules if we put them on for January 8th?
Can't put them on for January 8th. You would have had to continue to January 8th, which we didn't do. So they have to essentially start all over. They have to
And that was going to be my question
reapply.
about cost and starting over, if we
They
could.
have to submit a new application.
So I understand that there's going to be a cost to that, but again, that may actually make sense because what we're asking for is something cleaner and simple, and that does require a new application. So I appreciate that there's a cost to that, but I don't think we have any discretion here to waive any of that cost.
No, no one does.
Yeah.
Not even town staff.
Yeah. So, but yes, we would need something clean that we can actually approve. And if that requires a new application, then it should be a new application. So, we very much appreciate your patience and your understanding. Again, as you heard from Mr. Meadows, it is not our intent to say no to people. We help where we can. And despite not getting a yes vote to your petition, I believe that we have helped because, again, we're given the opportunity to allow us to support something that we can say yes on that not only benefits you, but protect the town as a whole as well. So thank you all for your time tonight. And I will entertain a motion to close the public meeting on 65 High Street for tonight. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, point of order, or procedure, I guess. I believe you need to announce the actual vote that we took, like what the outcome of it was for the record.
I'm sorry. On the motion to withdraw without prejudice, does unanimous vote allowing the petitioners to withdraw 65 High Street without prejudice? Thank you, Mr. White.
And now it's to close the hearing, not the public meeting, but we're
Yes.
closing.
So I will entertain a motion to close the hearing. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, the vote occurs on the motion. Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld, Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The hearing on ZBA FY 2026-03 65 High Street is officially closed. Our next order of business is general public comment on any matters not before the board tonight. I do not believe we have any members of the public still here. Ms. Williams?
No, no one is here. It's just us.
Seeing that it's just us and there are no public comments, are there any other business not anticipated within the last 48 hours?
I think we just need to talk about the site visit dates and just solidifying them so that everybody's on the same page. And I think, traditionally the bylaw or the rules and regs say that it's the Tuesday of the week of the public hearing. We've had to adjust those dates sometimes because either members of the board couldn't make that date or the applicant couldn't make the date. So the stipulation is I'm going to put the dates into, let me just share this document so everybody knows what I'm referring to. Put the dates into the schedule so that applicants know moving forward, starting in the new year, that they have to set this date aside. There's no like wishy-washy, I'm not available, blah, blah, blah. When you submit an application and you secure your public hearing, you're also securing your site visit date.
I like that idea.
Me too.
I just lost my screen share. One second.
That's okay.
But that would be the main thing. And then to that point, not everyone has responded regarding the site visit for 485 Pine Street. I think some people are able to join and most have not responded. So
Can you remind us of what that date is again?
it would be this coming Tuesday is when the applicant said they're available. I can always respond to them and let them know that the date doesn't work. January 6th would be the Tuesday, the week of the hearing, which is our traditional date, as mandated in the rules and regs. So
did we already say yes to the applicant for December 16th?
I didn't give them a definitive answer. I specifically just said the applicant. I communicated their response to you all, but I didn't tell them that we were on for the 16th. I haven't confirmed that date.
Okay. And given that we're all together, would people prefer, given that we're having this policy implemented January 6th versus the 16th, and I'm leaning towards January 6th. Things will be fresher in our minds then. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Silver?
I think this is a wonderful procedural suggestion on the part of Ms. Williams, and that I think it makes sense to implement it for the next time, which is January 6th. So I support what the chair just said. Also, I can't make the 16th. So if you go ahead, that's fine. It doesn't center around me. But this is, I think, generally a very good idea. It also tells us that when we know there's a meeting on a Thursday, that we should at least be aware that there's a likelihood of a site visit 2 days earlier and to set the time aside. So
That is
I would support January 6th since this is such a good idea, let's just do it.
I can't take complete credit for it. The chair was the one who kind of nudged me in that direction. So
Take all the credit you feel like that. It's okay. I'm assuming that because you're a woman, the idea really did come from you, and you're just being nice to Everald here. So
no comment.
Yeah. But yes, I like that we have something set. We put applicants on notice, and we also put ourselves on notice that says, hey, ZBA meeting this week, site visit is on Tuesday, potentially. Yeah.
So I am adding the column. Obviously, I'm not going to add the dates right now. But they will go in, and then I will resend this for everyone, so that you know that if you can make it, you can make it, and if you can't, then you can't.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the only time we should potentially change it is if none of us can make it.
Well, that's why I try to be flexible, but
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we have one day when we're like, oh, none of us can make it. That'll be like
that'll
yeah,
be
but
the day.
there may be a day when all of us make it.
I know, yeah.
If I'm there by myself, well, then
No, we won't do that to you.
No. Yeah. Mr. Hoffman, I saw your hand.
I was just going to say that January 6th would be my preference too. I agree with Mr. Slobiter all the way on that.
Yeah.
So
And so I think so far, Ms. Williams, actually you have 4 confirmed for January 6th. Yeah.
So you won't be alone, Jacinta. You're fine.
okay then. I will let the applicant know that it's not doable. It's too short of notice, and most people can't make it, so they'll just have to adapt.
So other than January 8th, is there anything else on the horizon?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. So we just have the 485 Pine Street on January 8th, but I was suggesting a possible administrative meeting for maybe the 8th or January 22nd.
I would suggest the 22nd. I think it's a good idea. I do want to take an opportunity to see what I can read out of the bylaws to see what the changes are. So I think longer than shorter would help me do that. This one was also the 65 High Street. It was very complicated. Not the positions that we were put in made it very complicated. And so I think having a meeting to have that conversation and see if there's any procedures that we can implement or policies that we can implement, just in case something as complicated comes before us again, we don't run through that. But yes, I think it's a great idea to have another admin meeting where we can preempt, if we can, to the best of our ability, certain things. Yeah.
Did anyone else have any other updates?
So, unless it's a comprehensive permit, in the new year, starting after our January meeting, my intent is to have Mr. Meadows chair the meetings so that Mr. Casey can attend the meetings, can be on the board. Because he hasn't served just yet. So, after, actually, I can do that with January 8th. So
I do have a slight input. I think Mr. Meadows won't even be available on January 8th. So
I-
that would
Oh.
be Mr. Casey.
Yeah, I leave on the 28th and get back on the 13th.
Okay, so can we reach out to Mr. Case and Ms. Williams and see if he's available?
Yes, they can do that.
Okay.
I can do that, yes.
I don't know if he's going to be in town because schools are going to be out too. But actually, we're Zoom. Yep.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be like Mr. Meadows and,
Be in
go
Colombia.
snorkeling
Yeah.
right after.
If I were going to Colombia, I might consider it, but I'm in Bonaire and I want to be scuba diving
There you go.
underwater instead of on top.
See? But one day you will be able to Zoom from underwater. Won't that be amazing?
There's got to be some place
Yeah,
where
I
you can.
can't wait. Some place should remain a refuge.
Exactly.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop
Um,
sharing this.
We are at a lovely 8:38. So unless there is more, thank you all for your service as always. Happy holidays. Enjoy your celebrations, friends, family, loved ones, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting for tonight. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
It has been moved second and third. The vote occurs on the motion. Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
Hey,
Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Again, thank you all very much.
Thank you and
Happy
good night.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
New Year.
And to all of you.